Before you say anything, I'm talking about Legendary Godzilla because the person is talking about Legendary Godzilla. I already know that Godzilla has been shown to eat plants, fruit, fish, and cars. So, since we're talking about Legendary Godzilla and Legendary Godzilla has never been shown to eat anything, only bite things, I'm talking about Legendary Godzilla.
No dick, no balls, and probably no butthole since this guy feeds on radiation.
I know that you're supposed to suspend your disbelief to some extent here because we're talking about Godzilla, but I'm gonna overthink it because I'm a nerd. To bring up the no butthole part, as funny as it is and how it may seem like it would make sense, why would Godzilla have forward-facing eyes, a mouthful of teeth, strong jaws, complex arms and legs, with digits tipped in claws? If all he feeds off of is radiation, then why does he have so many physical traits that are indicative of an active predatory lifestyle? And while yes, there are animals at the bottom of the ocean that feed off of thermal radiation, they're nothing like Godzilla. They are animals like clams and shrimp, tube worms that live around hydrothermal vents. And even though they do feed off of thermal radiation, it's not entirely thermal radiation that they feed off of. They supplement their diet with marine snow, which is just decaying parts of animals that have drifted to the bottom of the ocean. Some of those animals are even active hunters. The clams will eat thermal radiation, and then the crab will eat the clam, or the shrimp will eat the tube worm, or the crab will eat the shrimp, and then the shrimp eating the tube worm. Everyone's just eating everybody down there. So if Godzilla were to exist and feed off of radiation, he'd probably be supplementing his diet with animals such as giant squid, whales, and sharks. So he'd need a butthole. He's a big animal. He's a big guy. He's gotta sustain his body somehow. Thermal radiation just ain't doing it. In the comics and in the movie, it's been hinted that he has been asleep since the Permian period. I'm gonna ignore that because that's really dumb. And it doesn't make sense because an animal his size, even in torpor, would use up his energy reserves pretty quickly. Just because he's a larger animal and he can store more energy than us doesn't mean that his energy reserves will last longer. Yes, it's a lot of energy, but he needs to spend a lot of energy just to breathe. Sleeping takes energy, and he's been doing this since the Permian period. I know it's been stated that he's been feeding off of geothermal radiation while he was asleep. I'm not even gonna get it. So let's just say Godzilla evolved to live in the ocean, because it's a common thing for him to be depicted coming from the ocean, and one of the times in their show it coming out of the ground. But we're not gonna talk about that because we're not talking about the show of Godzilla. We are talking about Legendary Godzilla, who is primarily aquatic. Now, definitely some changes in his design for Godzilla would have to change for him to exist as an aquatic organism. Right now, Godzilla is based off of a outdated theropod reconstruction, whether that be T-Rex or Allosaurus, with Stegosaurus plates on it. Fun fact, Godzilla's head design was supposed to look like a mushroom cloud at one point, but that's not what we're talking about right now. So basically, my alternate version of Godzilla, my inferior version as a monster to Godzilla, would probably be a long, large, fish-like animal with vestigial forelimbs, a large mouth for swallowing whales and sharks and giant squid alike, whilst also feeding on thermal radiation from hydrothermal vents. His dorsal fins, or dorsal plates, will be there. I'll keep them there. But they'll be reduced and shaped differently to better aid with his hydrodynamics. His roar will be more like a sperm whale's click. It's mostly used for echolocation, if anything. His head will be blunt and fatty, sort of like a megamouth shark. And his eyes will be extremely well adapted to underwater settings. He's gonna need it. As for the reproductive part, he's not gonna need a penis or balls because he's reproducing asexually. Ever noticed that all these reptile monster movies like Jurassic World and Jurassic Park are always dipping their fingers into parthenogenesis? I guess it's just the coolest thing they can come up with. Anyways, yeah, he's gonna need ovaries and the cloaca, which is basically an everything hole. He can poop, pee, give birth out of it. I don't care. So basically, after everything, my Godzilla would look like this.